Need an assist on finding a new vehicle? Head to Bob Moore Ford because we're dishing out deals on our entire inventory, like the 2013 F-150 or F-250. Pick yours, then roll out. Visit BobMooreFordOKC.com for a chance to win our monthly prize.
Durant, pull-up jumper, off the rim, and and the Thunder win! Oh, come on, let's sing the Thunder song. When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your Thunder buddy and say these magic words.
Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Thunder Buddies podcast, a road edition. Where are we at right now, Darnell?
No clue.
By the way, we're not in a Bob Moore Ford, but we are brought to you by Bob Moore Ford. And if Bob Moore Ford, you're listening, I'd be glad to drive a sparkling new Bob Moore Ford down to San Antonio for Game 5 if there is one.
If necessary.
The asterisk is still there, and it is still saying if necessary.
And it ain't looking necessary.
We'll see. We will see. But where are we in Texas right now?
I told you, I don't know. I have no idea where we are. Pull out your phone and see what it
Damon
says.
Fontenot, who is in the car, our video guy, you're going to be our lead researcher on this podcast.
He's going to be like our underdog on the TNT set.
Yeah. He's our stat guy, our research guy.
Yeah, he's going to be like our Tony Reality on PTI.
Well, no, because then he'd be, leading the show then.
No, I said on PTI, not on
PTI,
Around the
you're
Horn.
right. Should we bring him on the end and ask if we made any mistakes?
Ask him for corrections?
Yeah.
Any mistakes we made?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, well, we're somewhere above Austin and before Dallas on the way back to OKC.
Yeah.
We're almost to
to
Waco,
Waco.
Texas. Should we stop at the house that RG3 built, that new little stadium they got
It
on
looks
the side?
nice from the highway.
It does look nice.
It looks real nice.
All right. Well, I guess we should talk a little Thunder hoops, although not much to say. Well, there's a lot to say, but if you're a Thunder fan, one of those real optimists, this is probably not the show you want to listen to today. And probably not the game you wanted to watch last night. What was the final?
112 to 77.
112-77.
San Antonio.
Hey, I did find a silver lining, though.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
What is it?
Game 3 of the NBA Finals last year, the Spurs beat the Heat 113 to 77. They beat them by 66, or might as well have been 66, but 36 points. Only beat the Thunder by 35 last night. Solid job.
LeBron James ain't walking through that door.
No, LeBron James isn't, and any capable NBA shooter probably isn't either.
Hey, Slater, I was going to say this to you on the on our post-game video last night. You didn't give me the chance.
Well, you can do it now. We got the time.
Thabo Sefolosha.
Yeah.
0 of 9.
0 of 9 in the series.
If I gave you 9 open shots, and his shots are pretty much wide open because of the attention Durant and Westbrook command.
Because if he's shooting, the Spurs are going, thank you.
How many do you think you would hit out of those 9 shots?
Am I hot? Am I hot?
Well, you're never hot. I've never, ever, ever seen you hot as a shooter.
Then you ain't never played with me. I'd hit 3 is my guess.
3 out of 9.
And the only reason why I say only 3 is because I probably missed the first 3. I got those jitters. I'm in an NBA game. I finally got the contract I've been waiting for.
So you missed the first 6, and you're saying you'd heat up, make your last 3.
No, I'd say I missed the first 3. Then I probably can 2 in a row, and then I get a little overconfident.
And then reality will set in, is what you're saying.
Not necessarily reality, but then I start yelling at Durant, yo, give me the ball, bro.
Oh,
and then I start doing fadeaways, and it's man. And then I missed the 4 straight, and then on my last one, I finally, all right, I'm settled back in, wide open, hit the last one, and it'll probably be the game winner.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, let's talk about Thabo Sefolosha. It's an issue. He's an issue right now.
He's not going to start Game 3.
I don't think he can.
He might not play Game 3.
I don't think. I think it's going to be a lot like the Grizzlies series when it was desperation time. They were down 3-2, and not only did Scott Brooks take him out of the rotation, and then later reveal because we needed an offensive boost, which they clearly need right now too. He didn't play him in 6 or 7 against Memphis, and you're right. I don't think he's gonna. This may not be a ridiculous statement. Thabo Sefolosha may have played his last minute on the Thunder.
I was just thinking that. We just might have seen the last of Thabo Sefolosha, and it was a good run.
Yeah,
we had some good times. We made some memories. he'll be missed.
Yeah. I mean, he was good for this franchise for 4 or so years. But the Swiss missile, it's
all good things must come to an end. And I believe Thabo Cephalos's
tenure
has come to an end.
It's not a pretty end because not only is he missing shots,
his defense hasn't been there.
Danny Green, the opposing shooting guard, has 37 points. He's 13 of 18 in the series. He's hit 11 threes. Tony Parker was the Spurs' leading scorer. Both the guys that Thabo Cephalosha is guarding have been going off.
We need a nickname for Damon Fontenot on this podcast. Stat Boy?
No.
That's already taken.
Kidding me? He already has a nickname. It's not just his podcast. It's the way he lives life. Swaggy D.
Swaggy D. We need Swaggy D to look up how many games.
I got it.
How many games?
I mean, I know he is the stat guy.
How many games has it taken Thabo Cephalosha to make his last 11 threes? If Danny Green has made 11 of them in 2 games, how many games did it take Thabo to make his last 11 threes?
How about 7 threes, which Danny Green made yesterday? Which, by the way, he went 7 of 10 for 3, and the Thunder went 2 of 20 as a team.
The Thunder went 5 of 10 from the free throw line.
They were that.
He made 2 more threes than the Thunder made free throws.
Okay, you ready? Oh my Lord!
I figured it was bad. I didn't know it was oh my Lord bad.
Well, how many playoff games have they played? 7 plus 6, 13, 15 plus 16, 17, 18, 19, 20,
oh my God.
21. In his last 21 games, Thabo Cephalosha he's made 7 threes. Let me figure out the attempts quick.
Forget the attempts. We know he's not shooting well.
31, 32, 33. He's 7 of 36 in his last 22 games.
Now
3.
get to 11. You got me to 7. Get me to 11.
Well, that problem is that goes past his injury. So hold on.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He made in the 2 games before the break, before he got injured, he had 4.
That helps.
So that would get him up to 11. So about 24 games for
winner, chicken dinner. We got to 11. What's the date on that?
The All-Star break. Exactly the All-Star break.
So the game before the All-Star break or the game after the All-Star break?
Well, the 2 games after. But he didn't make any against Miami. So since the All-Star break, he's made 11 threes.
Oh, my God. Danny Green's done that in 2 games.
Am I tweeting that right now? I'm tweeting that right now.
Tweet it. This is bad. He's done. He is done.
I'll tweet it after the podcast.
Portland actually wants him. Have you seen this? Reports at Portland. They want him up in Portland.
Yeah.
And I like Thabo. I mean, I've always been in his corner in terms of his impact on this team. He's a great guy. He's a great teammate. So many times he could have just went off the handle and just flipped out on everybody, from Russell Westbrook to Serge Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins, Kevin Durant, Scott Brooks for not playing him. But he's been a great teammate. I don't know if it's the Swiss in him or what, but he's been a great asset for this team. And I think it's done. I think his time is up.
Yeah. I mean, I think he could still help a team. By the way, we are driving by the house that RG3 built.
McLean Stadium. There it is.
It looks sweet, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. They got some sweet.
Man,
looks like they got some sweets up top.
Football is back on the map.
The house that RG3 built.
Man, that really does look like it's going to be a nice stadium. Anyway.
This is a cool podcast. Kind of scenic.
Yeah, it's very scenic. I'm sure the listeners are really enjoying the scenic views right now.
It's scenic for us.
Yeah.
Forget them.
Yeah, you're right. Thabo is struggling. There probably needs to be an offensive lineup change, but he may not be the only change that's needed in that lineup right now.
I think Steven Adams needs to start. And I know you've been saying it since probably like game 2 of the preseason?
I remember right when I heard with the 12th pick, I went, starter.
Yeah. You went Reggie Jackson, future Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Reggie was telling me potential Hall of Famer. I was like, you mean you don't think he's already in? I mean, right?
Steven Adams has been pretty good. And it goes back to what? Game 6 of the Grizzlies series.
Yeah.
I don't see how Scott Brooks cannot play him more than 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, he's got to me, he's got to be up in the 30 range.
Yeah, I don't remember where I put it, but yeah, I said 30. If there's no foul trouble, Steven Adams should play 35 plus, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And Reggie Jackson should too. I know Reggie Jackson hasn't been great, but I mean, you need offense right now. You ready for my radical idea?
You got yeah, you told me before this you got a radical idea. I'm ready to
with
hear
the
it.
lineup. Okay, I know Swaggy D doesn't have a mic, but you can both agree with me that, I mean, this series, no matter what Scott Brooks does or which way it goes, it seems over, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really tough to see the Thunder coming back.
They're not winning 4 or 5.
So at this point, in some ways, it's about trying to find different things, trying to build towards the future.
Don't tell me you're going to try to move Russell Westbrook to the 2. You're not one of them.
No,
you're not one of them, are you?
No.
All right. As long as you're not one of them.
Not moving Russell Westbrook to the 2. I watched the first 2 series in these playoffs. He was the best player.
Okay.
Thabo Sefolosha is not going to be here next year. Don't play him. You know, Derek Fisher's going to retire.
We think.
I mean, who knows? But okay,
he's been wavering.
Derek Fisher isn't an answer for the future. Caron Butler potentially. I mean, I could see him maybe coming back, but right now, there's a good chance he's not coming back. Kendrick Perkins, he'll probably come back, but at this point, why don't you say, you know what, Spurs, you're gonna play against a ton of young athletic dudes. We're playing KD, Westbrook, Steven Adams, Perry Jones, Jeremy Lamb, Reggie Jackson. The bulk of the minutes. We're going all young. We're starting Adams. We're starting Jones. We're starting Jackson. With Durant and Westbrook. We're playing Jeremy Lamb 30 minutes. We're going all young guys where they're going to get really good experience late in the playoffs. And who knows? What if for some reason they all come together and, Durant and Westbrook are loving it and everyone's playing real energized. They win a couple games. It'll help them for the future. And at this point, I mean, is playing Derek Fisher and Caron Butler and Collison and Sefolosha going to, they're not coming back in the series.
Yeah, but you can't have that defeated attitude.
No, but what if it changes the series?
It could. And I don't think it's all that radical. I think it's radical for Scott Brooks. We'll never see him do something that drastic. He has a hard enough time changing one starter, let alone 3. But I agree with you. The only thing I disagree with you on is I would start Jeremy Lamb and not Reggie Jackson.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think the starting lineup should be Westbrook, Lamb,
KD,
Perry Jones, KD, and Steven Adams.
I'm 100% with you on that.
And then Reggie Jackson plays a ton of minutes off the bench.
Yep.
And then you still filter in, Perk for some guarding of Tim Duncan, especially if Adams gets in foul trouble. Collison can play some minutes off the bench. And even Butler and Fisher for little spells. But I think you go very young, very athletic, run up and down, have some fun.
Yeah.
Get weird, Scotty Brooks. Get weird.
Hey, what was the score going into the fourth quarter? Do you know? It was like 91-62 or something like that.
Not good.
So I'm sitting down courtside, almost at half court at the scores table. And Reggie Jackson strolls over to his teammates sitting on the scores table, and he says, "Let's go, guys. You never know what can happen in 12 minutes."
Oh, jeez.
And I love Reggie Jackson. That's well on the record, right? And I'm thinking, this dude is nuts. There ain't no way they're coming back to win this thing. I love the mentality, but you're a little crazy. My point is, those young guys are hungry.
Yeah.
You throw them in there,
That's
I think you might get a different look.
Maybe
like Thabo Sefolosha, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the contract. I don't know if he knows that his days are numbered in Oklahoma City. I don't know if he's just tired of being yelled at and being the scapegoat, and I don't know what it is. But mentally, they just don't look into it. And, I don't think it's for a lack of trying. I think it's just they're not effective, and I think they're mentally worn out. They've played a ton. They've been through a ton of injuries. This has been an adverse season.
Yeah.
But those young guys, they're fresh. Throw them out there. See what they have. Totally with you, Slater.
And not only that, don't you think that could maybe revitalize Durant and Westbrook a little bit? Like, the young guns are out there. We're running. We're gunning. We're just playing loose a little bit.
Yep.
So that would be my radical idea.
The only problem is defense.
Yeah, but
none of those guys are going to be great defensively. Like Steven Adams and Perry Jones, they might get you a block or two here and there. But I just think they'll get exposed defensively.
You're right, but I'm not saying they're going to go out there and just win the series and suddenly, just confuse Greg Popovich and the Spurs. I just think it would be good experience, and I think it would be just...
Yeah, you don't even care about what happens on the court anymore, right? You're just like, let's go have fun.
Well, see if it can, liven the spirits up, make things interesting. I mean...
Yeah.
And guess what? That's great experience. You get a great long look in a pressure situation of guys that you're trying to figure out if they can be future, pieces, like future real rotation players in the playoffs.
I'm a little disappointed in your radical idea.
Why?
I thought it was going to be like Grant Jarrett. That's radical. Playing guys who are first round picks, 2 of them lottery picks, that's not radical. Like, these guys should have been playing.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next point. I gotta get something off my chest.
I feel like it's pretty radical to just suddenly throw out a starting lineup of Westbrook, Lamb, Jones, Durant, and Adams when you haven't even been playing Lamb and Jones.
Yeah, that part of it is radical. But I mean, those guys are talented, and this is what I got to get off my chest.
I wasn't gonna have a bad idea. You sound like you want me to have a bad idea.
You can have a radical idea that's not a bad idea.
All right, go ahead then.
This talk of these one-way players, all this talk about the roster not being good enough, all this talk about blame needing to be on Sam Presti, I don't understand any of it. The Thunder has multiple two-way players. Are they playing on both ends right now? No. They're underperforming. But you can't tell me that Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, Reggie Jackson, Derek Fisher, those are the top 4 two-way players in my mind.
Well, it's not great when your argument is Derek Fisher's one of our 4 two-way players.
You know what? On paper, that doesn't sound great. He's 38 years old.
No, it doesn't.
But he's had a heck of a season. Derek Fisher played his butt off this year.
But he has not been good in the playoffs.
He was great in game 1.
He was. That was his one. That was
game 2, he was not. He got in early foul trouble, and he never got going.
Yeah.
And he hadn't shot the ball well in the first 2 rounds. He didn't shoot the ball well. But he's had a great year, especially given the circumstances. This is supposedly his last year. He's 38 years old. He's chasing his final championship. His defense has been surprisingly effective at times. Not all the time, but nobody's has.
No, you're right in the way that
I just don't understand why people are all of a sudden saying they don't have any two-way players. Serge Ibaka is a guy. I mean, I didn't mention him because he's not playing right now.
Well, he's the one. I mean, he's the guy that they're really missing right now because he balances things out on the court because you're going to have him for 40 minutes, and he's such a two-way player. He's like you know what I'm saying? He's a huge plus on offense and a huge plus on defense, like pretty much all the time. Whereas, KD and Westbrook can be great offensively, but they can struggle at times defensively.
Right.
And, other players, Derek Fisher at times, if he's playing well, he's not a minus on defense, and, he can hit some shots.
Like, to me, Andre Robertson is a one-way player.
Yeah,
for a fact he's not going to shoot the ball, and he's not going to do anything for you offensively besides get garbage points. That's a one-way player to me. But these other guys, they're not one-way players. And this phrase is being thrown around way too much in my mind. This is the most talented roster in the world, if you ask me. More talented than Miami, more talented than San Antonio, more talented than the Clippers.
But it's so star-reliant.
Whose fault is that?
I'm guessing Scott Brooks in your mind?
I mean, I would put some of the blame on him, yes.
Yeah. It's a lot of issues.
I don't understand how the most talented roster in the world can be seen as one-dimensional. This is not a one-dimensional roster. Perry Jones, now he's not Scottie Pippen, don't get me wrong.
kind of has.
But he can do some things.
Look,
he can do some things on both ends.
Kind of has a Scottie Pippen look to him. he is 1/180th the player Scottie Pippen was, but I know what you're saying. He has the potential to be. I mean, you see that block he had on Tony Parker last night? That was nice. So I agree with your point.
He can get to the rim. He can put the ball on the floor. He's got an okay 3-point shot. Not great, but it's okay. He's showed in the regular season he can hit them.
But who Scott Brooks has been playing? The starting lineup he's been having out there.
Steven Adams? You telling me he's a one-way player?
No, I'm not saying that. Man, he's looking good, isn't he?
I mean, this roster is incredibly talented, Slater. And all this talk about one-way players and Sam Presti needs to go out there. You know how much a two-way player costs? Like a bona fide two-way player that is elite on both ends? You're talking about LeBron James. You're talking about Paul George. You're talking about, like, guys that Andre Iguodala, those types.
You're right, but he plays far too many minutes.
Luau Deng. Those are $10 million to max-type players. $10 million to max-type players. You don't just go out and get those players. So all of this talk about they need to go get more two-way players, that's not happening. You're not going to go out there and get a $10 million player.
You're right, but you can't play these just severely one-dimensional players like together.
That goes back to the
like
lineup,
yes,
the rotation.
Yeah.
Whose fault is that?
Well, who's putting the players on the court? We all know it's Scott Brooks.
I mean, the pieces are there.
Well, it's tough without Serge right now a little bit, but it ain't as tough as it's looking.
It shouldn't look this bad.
No.
And I think we said the same thing last year against Memphis. We said the same thing this year against Memphis. It shouldn't look this bad. Without Russell Westbrook last year against Memphis, with your full roster this year against Memphis. Without Serge Ibaka against the Spurs, you should not lose by 35 points in the Western Conference Finals. And have to wave the white flag with a minute and change left in the third quarter.
In the third, I know. I was going to look it up, but I never ended up doing it. But I'm pretty sure Jeremy Lamb and Perry Jones have all played way, way more fourth-quarter minutes than Durant and Westbrook so far in this series, which says a lot.
Yeah, but, in defense of the Thunder, somewhat, because I don't think you can defend them too much, but what'd you say? The Heat lost by 36 in game, what was that, 3?
Game 3 of the NBA
of the
Finals last year.
So, it happens. The fact is, I think the difference is when you lose by 17 and you're down by as many as 23 points in the first game, that's where red flags start to be raised. That's where you're starting to think something's up here. And all the issues that we're seeing are not new issues.
No.
The offense. Slater, we talked about it coming into the series. I told you about the concerns I had.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're seeing them. Lack of discipline offensively. Inconsistency defensively.
No movement.
No discipline. No movement. The ball's not moving. The players aren't moving. This team has a lot of issues.
I got a question.
What's up?
Is this since game 4, game 5 of the NBA Finals in 2012, is this as far away from a title as you have thought the Thunder are?
Since when?
Since basically the Heat just kind of pulverized them in game 5 of the Finals. Even when they lost that, title's very possible next year. Title down the road. Oh, Westbrook goes down. This year, oh, they're great. They got everyone back. But just some of the issues we're seeing here, is this as far away and as much as you've ever thought since that 2012 run that, hey, they need to do a lot of things to really be title contenders?
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why, and it might surprise you. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook.
As much as we're going to hate on Brooks, hate on some of, basically criticize all these role players.
Yeah, don't say hate on. Let's just say.
Yeah. Criticizing.
Yeah.
Fairly, I think. But, it all falls back to Westbrook and Durant, who've not been good this series. It's
not even the fact that they haven't played well. To me, it's bigger than that. It's the fact that they don't even seem like they know how to play. And that might sound strange because one's the MVP, another one's perhaps a top 5 player in the world. But they sit up there, and I told you on the last podcast, I don't pay too much attention to what they say to the media, but they say all the same things, and more than what they say, they do the same things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they come out there and say that they need to pass the ball and say they need to play defense and say that they're going to get with it. Kevin Durant coming up with these grand statements talking about, I always have another level I can go to. And I will for us to get to this, and I'll need to for us to get out of this series. Where is that level? I don't think they know how to play the game the right way. And that's a big issue. That's the biggest issue in my mind. With those two guys, they don't know how to play the game the right way. They struggle to make their teammates better consistently. They struggle to play defense consistently. And they struggle to take great shots consistently. That's like a 3-headed monster that's going to get you beat and knocked out of the postseason year after year after year.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that they don't know how to. I just because
they're not doing it.
But I just think they're super frustrated right now, and that's another reason why I think this young lineup could maybe revitalize them. They need a little bit of energy. What did you think of their post game yesterday?
Like I said, I don't too much pay much attention to what they say in the press conferences.
Well, when they're that defensive and that kind of defiant and they were. It was like, it's one thing if the media's questions are very leading or we're asking stuff to try to get him to criticize other people, but there was one question was like, hey, you've been giving up a lot of layups. Why have the Spurs been getting a lot of layups? And he's like, that's a great question, but you guys don't know because you guys don't play the game. It's like, we're just, we're not trying to say that. We're asking you why they're getting a bunch of layups.
Did you see what our man Jason Kersey tweeted about that? Our OU football beat writer, Jason Kersey, tweeted after KD said that to I guess he was a San Antonio area reporter. And he said, Kersey tweeted, when a player resorts to that type of answer, to the media, you didn't play the game, that just means they're completely out of legitimate answers.
Yeah. But it almost seemed to me like him and Westbrook came to the press conference, especially Durant. We're just gonna turn it on them, and we're gonna, you
guys are gonna try to split us up over the next few days.
You're gonna try to spread us apart, and they were almost trying to say you like what's happening. It's like, no,
we're just makes them feel better. I mean, it got nothing to do with us.
Just lost you.
Not gonna dig them out of this 0-2 hole.
So I think they're just tired and frustrated, and I think they can sense that they're helpless.
I said this to you last night as we were shooting our post-game video. I think Scott Brooks wore out Durant in the regular season. This postseason, those overtime games against Memphis, this dude's minutes are off the charts this year.
Yeah, I mean, most of the NBA by a lot.
And then in the playoffs, it hadn't been any better. It's been worse.
No,
actually.
Especially with those 4 OTs against Memphis. You go 7 games there. You go 6 games against the Clippers. You really get no rest.
My man is fatigued mentally probably as much as physically.
Yeah, and when you're physically fatigued and you can't do what you're used to doing and you're playing this juggernaut that's just playing incredible basketball, you get mentally fatigued. You get a little ticked off, and you start yapping that at the media. So it's been a struggle. I said this to you when you said that to me in the post game. I don't understand why late in the season, that you remember how much they rested Westbrook?
Yep.
I mean, why not a few of those games? Because as we've seen now, Russell Westbrook does not look physically like there's anything wrong with him.
Right.
Why didn't they give Durant some breaks like they were giving Westbrook? Why were they so set on, hey, we need to do this maintenance program with Westbrook, and then it's like, hey, we're playing the Pelicans late in the season. I know they're still seeding up for grabs, but let's play Durant 46 minutes there. Let's play him 48 against the Pistons.
You want to know my reason?
Sure.
Or at least my thoughts on why they did it that way? I don't think this team can manage without Kevin Durant. I don't think that Scott Brooks is capable of putting a lineup out on the floor and competing with it consistently enough to where he feels like he can win without Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I have no other answer for you.
No, it's true. And that's like kind of the opposite of what, when it's weird watching the series. Then you look at San Antonio, and there'll be stretches where Tim Duncan's out for
They're get in there, Boris.
Yeah. Tim Duncan will be out for a full quarter, and you won't even notice.
Yeah. And it's just, to me, I don't think the staff feels comfortable enough, and I think they're just overly reliant on Kevin Durant. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think this team is getting by on talent and athleticism.
And that's how they get all these wins. And I think it made them too comfortable, all the wins they can kind of get by just using that.
And when that talent and athleticism comes off the floor, it's a totally different ball game. Now, at times, in fairness, the bench has been great over the last 3 seasons. At times. And some of those best bench units have not had Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook. We're talking those.
The bench was really good early in the season.
Yeah, and guess who was in those groups? A lot of Perry Jones, a lot of Jeremy Lamb.
Yeah, yep.
Then Westbrook comes back. Minutes start to get cut. Caron Butler comes in. Minutes start to disappear. And all of a sudden, the bench is erratic. You don't know what you're going to get from the bench.
It's all fair.
It's a lot going on with this team. And like you said, they're a long way from, in my mind, a championship. Being able to win it and play consistently enough to contend on this stage and actually win it. They'll get here every year just based off talent alone.
Yeah.
But I don't see them winning it. I just don't see them winning it with this current structure.
Yeah, not unless they get maybe a few breaks here and there. Like if they had Ibaka
or if another team had an injury.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like,
they had Ibaka and Parker's hamstring lingers enough to where he can't really give it a go. Then they get to the finals, and Indiana has beaten Miami because I still think they could beat the Pacers.
No doubt.
So there's ways I could see them get a title, but there's just clearly issues that you'd think at this point in their progression they would have figured out.
I think we just passed a strip club, and we're in the middle of nowhere.
Damon, you want us to turn around?
Swaggy D.
Swaggy D.
Now, you really got to be desperate if you come way out here to go to that strip joint.
Yeah.
Because we are in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, there's no doubt. But,
well, all right, so what do you think is going to happen with the starting lineup? Because that's clearly the only thing that's worth watching in Game 3. I think they're going to play better in Game 3, but the starting lineup's got to change. I think we both agree on that. What do you think Scotty Brooks going to do?
I think Cephalosha, like we mentioned, is going to be out of it. So my guess is he goes to Caron Butler. Just like he did in Memphis. I'm not saying, like I said what I think the starting lineup should be.
Yeah, that's what you think he'll do.
I think it's going to be Durant, Butler, Westbrook. I think he's going to keep Collison and Perk, is my guess.
I agree with you. I think that's what he'll do. He's coached in the past hey, it's worked before.
Yeah.
It'll work again.
But we've also seen him bench Cephalosha in the past, so I think he will. And he went to Butler that time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That'll be his natural, I think, move because he did it before and it worked.
Yeah.
And he's going to feel, I think, hey, it's going to work again. So I don't think that's necessarily the right move because Caron Butler hadn't been he hadn't been anything special.
No,
I thought he was pretty good in Game 2, but
overall he's been pretty bad in the playoffs.
Yeah, what's he shooting in the playoffs? And when he's not hitting his shots, he's not giving you much of anything.
No.
You pulling up his numbers?
Yeah.
Good.
Do you think there's any way he has 2 changes to the starting lineup?
No, I think he'll have more of a quick trigger.
Yeah.
Whereas if Nick Collinson's not giving him much or Kendrick Perkins isn't giving him much, then I think he'll go to Perry Jones and Steven Adams quicker. I think he should sit Nick and play Steven Adams and Nick Collison together. Where's that been?
Wait, sit Perk and play?
No, sit Nick. Play Perry, like you're saying. Start him.
Yeah.
That way you can have Nick Collison and Steven Adams come off the bench together.
Yeah.
Where's that lineup been? Reggie, Russell, Adams, Collison, and KD.
Yeah.
That Game 6 of the Clippers lineup.
That was the Game 6 lineup. Was basically the entire second half of
right.
that lineup. And they were like a plus, 20 or something. That I agree. I mean, Collison and Adams seem to work well together because Collison's obviously a great passer. And then Adams is just so consistent catching and finishing now, or rebounding and finishing.
Right.
All right, Caron Butler, 32% shooting in the playoffs, 31 of 96.
I don't see why they would bring him back either.
No, I mean they're gonna have to go out and get somebody. You ready for who I think they should go out and get?
That's a whole other episode, Slater.
It is. I'm just,
but go ahead. Who you got? You got
guy.
one name?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
It's a familiar name and a Thunder killer from the past. Mike
Thunder
Miller.
Killer Miller.
Mike Thunder Killer Miller. What do you think?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. I thought about that. But here's the problem.
Okay. He played.
You got people talking about one-way players now. You bring him in here. What do you think's going to happen then?
Yeah, but
now he might be one of the best. He is one of the best
shooters
in the league.
You need a sharp shooter. They do not have a sharp shooter.
He could be a top 5 shooter in the league, and that's valuable. But who's he going to guard? That's the knock on people. I think it's a ridiculous knock on this team because I told you how I feel about the roster. But if people are talking about one-way players now, that's the guy you want to go get? Knowing that either Scott Brooks is going to not play him or play him too much.
I think the problem is now that Ibaka's out and just the way they're playing, it's not terrible to have one-way players on the court, but when they're asked to do too much, like when 3 of them are in the starting lineup, which means one of them or 2 of them have to play some offense,
right?
They're not capable of doing it. And then the other way, you can be a one-way player, but you better play well in that one way. And a lot of the Thunder's perceived one-way players like Butler on offense, Cephalosha on defense, they're not playing well in their one way that they're supposed to be good, so they're no-way players, basically.
I agree with that.
The thing with Mike Miller, he played 82 games this season. He shoots 40-something% from 3. Sharp shooter that they never had except for, Durant, but he's a different kind of shooter.
You mean my man Daquan Cook doesn't qualify?
No, please. We went too many podcasts without mentioning him.
How about Francisco Garcia? He do anything for you?
He'd be a nice little pickup as far as a 3-and-D guy.
I was joking. Just because I know how much you love Francisco Garcia.
I think Francisco Garcia is a far better NBA player than Daquan Cook ever was.
No, okay.
Anyway, maybe they can get Bynum.
Moving on.
All right. Yeah. So I don't want to talk about all. We'll talk about off season on when it's the off season. But
coming soon.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Anyway, you want to talk a little Eastern Conference Finals?
Not particularly, but sure, why not?
Collapsed by the Pacers a little bit, huh?
Meltdown in Indy. They should have won that game. They should be up 2-0 going into Game 3.
Yeah, but I think we saw the issue in this series for the Pacers, which is when the Heat are, hey, it's the fourth quarter. We really need this win. Let's really crank the defense up. Indy can't score. We're talking about
they didn't give themselves a chance to score at the end of that game.
Their
turnovers.
Well, guess what? They're a bottom tier offense. They're like I'm not just saying they're a bad or a mediocre offense
well, you weren't saying that after Game 1
or one of the worst in the playoffs. This season they were like a bottom 10 offense. Like they're down there with Milwaukee.
So what? Chicago is the worst offensive team. Defense wins you games, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. Chicago, they were real good this year in the playoffs, right?
No.
So all I'm saying is win, and we're talking about playing the Heat. I'm not talking about playing other teams. Win the Heat because you know the level of defense the Heat can get to when they're really committed.
You didn't say any of this after game 1. They had a horrible 5 minutes.
What do you mean?
They should have won that game.
I said that I said that's exactly what I said after game 1.
No, you didn't say this after game 1.
Well, I said when. I mean, I didn't necessarily specify defense, but I said in game 2, the Heat are great at bounce back games when they know they have to have a win.
Yeah, but you weren't talking about Indy having one of the worst offenses when they put up 115 points on the Heat or whatever they had in game 1.
I'm pretty sure.
You weren't talking about the Heat's defense when they gave up that many to the Pacers in game 1.
Look, they had 107 points, and it was the most they've had in the playoffs by 6. They've only scored over 100 points 2 out of 15 postseason games. Sure, they had a nice game. I'm just saying when
they had a nice game in game 2. Guess what? The last 5 minutes they pooped the bed.
They had like 70 something points.
The Heat had like 80 something. I mean, it's not like it wasn't an offensive.
You're right. That's the bad thing. In the fourth quarter, the Heat only scored like 25 points, and they still outscored the Pacers in that quarter by like 14.
The turnovers. Indiana's a turnover-prone team.
Yes, you are. You're right. And guess what?
In addition to being questionable on offense.
Exactly. You're helping my point right now. He's just like the Chick-fil-A argument, right, Swaggy D?
Hey, Chick-fil-A. Let me tell you something about Chick-fil-A. We stopped at Chick-fil-A for lunch. That place is overrated.
I don't understand. You want to know what?
It's good.
You want to know?
Overrated doesn't mean bad.
Darnell's argument was, well, it's the only place that has
that was my counter argument. You and Swaggy D tried to argue that I couldn't name you a better chicken sandwich. And the problem with that is there's only one place that specializes, keyword being specializes, in chicken sandwiches.
You know what Stringer Bell would call that?
What would Stringer Bell call that?
Cornering the market. That's good business strategy. If I want a good chicken sandwich, I know where to go.
Slater is now just catching up on The Wire for all those people who watched it 10 years ago. He's just catching up. So he's all feeling himself. As soon as we get done with this road trip, he's going to go get back into some Stringer Bell. Man, if you're on Twitter, give him all the spoiler alerts.
No,
give him all the spoilers.
Hashtag no spoiler alerts.
Give him all the spoilers. At Anthony V. Slater.
No, please don't. I'm gonna be off Twitter for the next 2 months. Off season, right?
It's a good chicken sandwich. It's a little overpriced.
Not really.
The lines are incredibly long every time you go there.
They're pretty quick though.
And they're closed on Sundays.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess I understand why they do the Sunday thing, but I always feel like Sunday's the day I'm like, hey, man, I really want some Chick-fil-A today. And then it's like, oh.
The best part of the operation is the best part of the Chick-fil-A operation is the sweet tea and the cookies and cream milkshake. They got the best cookies and cream milkshake possibly on the planet.
I've never had it, man. I should have had it today.
I would have had it, but, the rest of these 4 hours might not have gone so well. I'll try to take it easy on y'all.
Man, I might have to end the podcast on that.
I'm just telling you.
Okay, what happens game 3?
Game 3, I'm going to say, against my better judgment, the Thunder is going to win.
Yeah, I kind of am feeling a game 3 win for the Thunder and maybe their only win of the series.
Yep.
Man, do I want to see them just go super young and athletic.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
It's not. I said this a lot in the past. I think there's got to be at least 1 or 2 games this series where Durant and Westbrook just have those games. You'd think.
Yeah, we thought coming in. Westbrook's probably more likely than Durant at this point.
Westbrook's had a better playoff.
But you know what? Here's the problem. We saw Westbrook try in the second quarter, and it cost him the game. For whatever reason, this dude went off in the second quarter. What was he doing?
I think he was just frustrated with,
They were up, and then he starts taking almost every shot.
Welcome to the world of Russell Westbrook.
And then all of a sudden, you look up and they're down 27.
Well, it was more than him.
No, it was. It was Durant, too. They started trying to do it on their own. People saying, who they going to pass it to? How about Reggie Jackson? How about Caron Butler, who, like I said, had a pretty decent game in game 2? How about Steven Adams for a layup?
They all did.
those three guys off the bench, who they happen to be playing with in those moments when the game got away, those three guys had good games in game 2.
Yeah, Westbrook was 7 of 24. Durant was 6 of 19 or something like that.
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to give Greg Popovich a truth serum. I'd like to give him a truth serum and ask him, what do you think of the way this team plays?
Yeah.
And get him on the podcast to explain.